Honey consulted with her friends, then began the long walk across the beach with Macon. We watched until their silhouettes disappeared into the dark. I pushed a button on the side of my watch to see the time. 11:32 p.m. glowed on the face of it. I yawned. I couldn't remember ever staying out on the beach this late. Lovey stretched out her legs on the beach towel and leaned back on her elbows. Jake, her eyes were fixed on a million stars above us. Yeah, I replied, then stretched out my legs too. I don't want this summer to end, she said wistfully. We watched we watched long wisps of clouds float lazily in front of the moon. Me neither. I dug my toes into the sand. I'm not sure now where I'll end up. When it's over, where I'll end up when it's over. Mom called and said everything's up in the air because of my dad's injury. Will you stay here? Said she asked hopefully. Will I shook my head. Doubt it. I'll probably be heading back to New Jersey. I have to start seventh grade. That means another new school. Are you nervous? Kind of, but I'm used to being the new kid in school. Uh, I scoped my I scoped sand in my hand and let it slide out between my fingers. I heard there's a lot of homework, but I guess it'll be nice to see my old friends. It's funny, but I haven't thought about them all summer. Lovey didn't say anything. I found a moon shell in the sand next to me and it and handed it to Lovey. You you and Macon are my best friends now. Lovey held the shell gently in her fingers, then lay back on the towel and looked up at the stars. You are my best friend too. Her eyes shone in the moonlight, and I lay back on my towel and side by side. We we stared up at a billion stars shimmering in the night sky. There, Lovey Lovey pointed to a twinkling star. It was a larger and brighter than the rest. That's the wishing star. That's the North Star, I corrected her. See, it marks the tip of the handle of the Little Dipper. My dad taught me that if you can find the Big Dipper, you can find the North Star. I turned my head to look at her, but all I could see was her profile. Besides, it's a wishing star, the first star you see at night. Besides, isn't the wishing star the first star you see at night? Out here on the is on the island, you can see all the stars. So I pick out the biggest, brightest star to wish on. So she stroked the thick braid of her hair. She said softly, "Jake, what do you wish for?" I wished the I watched the blinking light of the I watched the red blinking light of the faraway plane. I wish I was on that plane to go see my dad. I turned to look at I turned to look at her. What about you? What's your wish? She didn't answer. I only heard the rhythmic sound of the waves rolling ashore. Lovey sat up and brushed away the sand. Never mind. Wishing on is for babies anyways. Lovey couldn't understand why her mood had shifted suddenly. Look, Jake, Lovey said, peering into the dark, someone's coming. I bolted upright and saw a familiar shape walking towards us from the boardwalk. It's Honey. Judy and Alicia flashed their lights and waved. Honey approached her beneath, coming in short pants. Did I miss anything? Nope, just mosquitoes and sand gnats. Alicia said with a laugh. Honey walked to the rest, then to the Honey walked to the nest, then crouched low. I don't know about that, she called out in a singing voice. The pot is bubbling. Y'all better get ready for a boil. We all jumped up and scrambled to move our towels and chairs out of their path towards sea. Lovey and I nailed close to the rest to the nest. Shoulder to shoulder, I couldn't take my eyes from it. The widening circle in the sand looked like a big chocolate chip cookie with all the little brown bumps popping out. We watched, almost holding our breath, as one lone hatchling, dark brown and only 3 inches long, wiggled its flippers and pulled itself from the nest. Without pausing, the hatchling began digging its flippers into the sand and as it headed for the sea. "It's so cute," said Lovey in an excited whisper. Look at the look at that tiny turtle track," I said with a short laugh. It was so small compared to the 2 foot wide tracks of the adult sea turtle. That that's the Scout, said Honey. The rest won't be far behind. The suddenly little brown bumps in the sand began to heave like something from beneath was pushing them upward. Then the bumps in the sand became flippers and heads of heads as dozens of little hatchlings began pushing out of the nest all at once. Judy moved the front wood stick out of the sand to clear the way. "Heads up, they're coming." Boy did they. Tiny brown hatchlings were wiggling and pushing as they climbed up and over one nest another to escape. From the hole in the sand, there were a lot of them. They were crazy, scrambling wildly with their flippers waving. They couldn't wait to get to sea, where 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 they would spend the rest of their life. They had to hurry to get there alive. "Look at them go," I shouted. It was hard imagining how someday those tiny creatures would grow over 300 pounds. "You're going home, babies," Lovey cried. I could see how happy she was to witness her sea turtles to witness her sea turtle nest hatching. I was just sorry Bacon was missing this. When the last hatchling scrambled out of the nest, we all rose to guard the turtles. As they crawled across the beach, the moon lit up the shore, and so we could see nearly 80 tiny turtle tracks crisscrossing the smooth sand. Everything from footprints to driftwood to wreck. There were obstacles for them, but nothing stopped them. "Never give up, never surrender," I called out with excitement. As the sea turtles neared the water, they fanned out across the beach from a distance. They looked like dark stones and wet sand. We followed beside the hatchlings and on the lookout for ghost crabs. We slowly walked towards the shoreline, careful of our every step. At the water's edge, we watched the first of the hatchlings dive into the waves and quickly disappear into the water. "Where'd they go?" I asked Honey. "They'll swim for 3 days without stopping to reach the giant masses of seaweed beds called sargassum in the Gulf waters." Honey stepped out of the way of 2 hatchlings that got in close to her feet. "They won't see their mother again, right?" No, Honey replied kindly. I knew she heard the loneliness in my voice before my own mother. The hatchlings were together in the nest, but once they reach the sea, they are lone swimmers. Instinct and luck are their guides now. "Goodbye," I called out. "Good luck." I felt Honey's arm slide across my shoulder. I always feel a twinge in my heart when I say goodbye. My mama says Only a lucky few will make it to the sargassum. Lovey said, coming to the sand beside us at the water's edge. True, honey, true, honey said, but each of the female hatchlings tonight who survives and grows to their adulthood will come back and lay their own eggs here. That will be in 29 years. She squeezed our shoulders. I might not be here to welcome her back, but you might, you might. We stood at the edge of the shore until the last baby turtle caught the outgoing tribe. The moon created a ribbon of light over the water that looked like a golden path for the hatchlings to follow. I thought about how they were all gone. They'd left the 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 island and were swimming towards their new life. Soon I'd be leaving the island too.